Okay, hello there. I was wanting to make a video for quite a while about don't ever make a solemn vow to God Almighty or His Son or the Holy Spirit and then break it. I've got a heck of a story about when I did just that. And I was born again November 4th, 1994, and this must have been a few months later. I don't know how much later, but a little bit later. And you got to begin. When you're born again, God becomes your father, and He starts working with you. And He's very, very kind and merciful, just like a father is. But then He's also stern, like a good father is. And so, all this, of course, is new to me because you start out as, a spiritual infant, I mean, when you're born from above, it's the same thing. Born from above or born again, it's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing in the Greek, and it's the exact same thing in real life. And it's amazing how the Word of God, is so accurate because born again and born from above, it's the same thing, and I'll maybe share more about that later. And also in my testimony, born again testimony, you can hear more about that also. But this is about making a solemn vow to God and then breaking it, okay? So, almost right away after I was saved, I was so caught up. I was still, when you're saved, it's the your soul is saved and your spirit, but your flesh isn't saved. It's the same old flesh, and same old sinful flesh. That doesn't mean that He doesn't rearrange things inside of you. I was a criminal before. I had a criminal mind. I had, and He rearranged stuff inside of me when I was born again that afternoon. Rearranged stuff inside of me. I couldn't describe to you exactly what it was, or in detail, but I could tell you He took the criminal mind from me. So that's just one of the things. But anyway, getting back to the solemn vow, okay? So there's something about, when you shoot up drugs, there's something about taking your lifeblood and drawing it out of your body and then mixing it with the devil's poison and then putting it back in there. Boy, I tell you, man, God doesn't like it. He doesn't like it, man, because the life is the lifeblood. I guess I don't understand all of it, but all I know for sure is He doesn't like it. He really doesn't like it. And so anyway, I found that right away, man. He was on me, man, about shooting up, because I pretty much went back to it. I was still, after I was saved, I was still involved with the same people, same crowd, everything. And even though He took all the drugs out of my body, I was completely clean from drugs and everything. And my flesh, I'm selfish, still selfish, And so I ended up, doing drugs, speed more, and I realized right away that the shooting up had to go, So I started justifying it, well, okay, I'll just snort some or I'll eat it, And that's what I did, And I know He didn't like that either, but He seemed to kind of ease up when I do that. When I'd shoot up, man, I could just tell immediately He was in my spirit, it was just trouble, big time. And I could just tell it was grieving Him. Before I was saved, all I felt was extreme euphoria, So anyway, this was probably several months after this, and He'd been on me about it, And I had decided I was going to shoot up. So anyway, I went up to my my buddies and got a syringe, and I was coming back to the motel room I was staying in, and I had a quarter gram in my room, and I had a syringe on me, and I had a motel key on me, and I was almost made it to the motel, and just as I was walking into the parking lot, headed to the door of the motel, I think it was two cop cars, but it might have just been one. I can't remember. It's been so long. It's been 20-something years ago, 25 years ago. Yeah, matter of fact, this month it was 25 years ago, November 4th of 94. So 25 years ago, you kind of, I don't know, I know what happened, but the details are a little bit, I can't remember, blurred a little bit. But anyway, I think it might have just been one cop car, actually, when I think about it. I think I did tell the story where it was two of them. Of course, I've always been one to embellish a story or something like. When I was a kid, I used to do that a lot. I don't do that anymore that I know of, but I might have done that even after I was saved. I don't know. But anyway, I think it was just one car. But anyway, I'm in the parking lot trying to get to the door, man, because I want to get high, And all of a sudden a cop comes in the parking lot, and they knew me. This was San Clemente, California. It's not that big of a town, and I'd read run-ins with almost every cop there, and they knew who I was. They knew my girlfriend, and I wasn't with my girlfriend this day, at this time. She was gone doing whatever she was doing. But anyway, I was just got into the parking lot, and this cop car pulled in, and it was the strangest sensation. It hasn't happened to me before or since, but in a split second, I knew I was going to get busted. I knew it was like God was letting me know, man, hey, this is it, man. I've had enough of it. So I knew I was going to get busted. And with my criminal record, I've been 12 years in the joint. I've been convicted of 3 felonies already, and in California, 3 strikes and you're out. And I just knew that I was going to get busted. God was letting me know. And it was just, I can't explain it, man. Anyway, just take my word for it. That's what happened. And so in a split second, man, I made a solemn vow to God. I didn't say it out loud. I just, in my spirit, I guess it was, or in my mind or whatever, I just said this quick. I said, God, if you let me go in there and shoot up this last quarter gram, I'll never do it again. And it was like I made a solemn vow to him, and I meant it, And so as soon as I said that, man, the cop car turned around and went right back out the same way he came. I was like, all right, man. So I went in there, shot it up, flushed the syringe, flushed everything. And I said, I'm never going to do it again. Okay, so 5 weeks go by, and I'm doing good. I'm sure I probably snorted some or ate some within that time period, but I remember it was 5 weeks. And I used to live in motels, and hotels the whole time I was out there, basically. Had a heck of a hustle going. I don't really want to get into that, but I just tell you, I was involved in a bunch of crap, man. I had like $5,000 a month coming in, and I wasn't working. I just put it that way. So anyway, and God allowed that to happen too, because that's the reason I got saved, man. Anyway, I'll go into that later. But anyway, I'm telling you this story here for a reason. And so anyway, 5 weeks go by, and I'm in my motel room one day, and get a knock at the door, and it's one of my dope dealers, Fast Eddie from Boston. He was Fast Eddie from Boston. Well, he was a character, man. And anyway, he was no good. Okay, and I got another story I want to tell you about when God slapped him down when he was going to hurt me, and God slapped him down to the ground, and then I'll tell you all about that. I got a lot of stories, man. I'm going to tell you about God and the devil and a lot of stuff that normal people don't have any idea about. Okay, so anyway, so he comes in and he said, "Hey man, can I use your bathroom?" And I said, "Yeah, go ahead, man." I knew what he was doing, man. He's gonna go in there and shoot up, man. So, I reluctantly said, "Yeah," And so anyway, he went in there, man, and he comes out a little while later, man. And he's huffing and puffing and high on a kite, and I got tempted, man, and I broke down, and I guess I forgot about that vow, or thought, oh man, he'll forgive me. That's probably what I was thinking, knowing me. Oh, he'll forgive me, no big deal, he'll forgive me. So anyway, I gotta get rid of this messenger thing. Okay, so anyway, after 5 weeks, man, I ended up doing it. And I think that was the day before Memorial Day weekend. And I know it was more, I think that was on a Thursday. And so anyway, the next day, I'm in this bar, and this guy I know, he looks over at me, and with this strange look, man, it's just evil look, man. He just, is like this. He leans over at me and says, "Hey Kenny, hey man, tonight's your night. Tonight's your night, man." And I thought, what? I said, what? What are you talking about, man? Tonight's my night. Oh yeah, man, yeah. Believe me, man, tonight's your night, man. It's your night. And I thought, boy, this is strange. I said, am I going to hit the lottery or? Because I used to play this Keno out there at 7-Eleven, different places, and I'd win a little bit here and there or whatever. I wasn't a big gambler, but it was kind of fun and everything. And I thought, man, am I going to win big on Keno or something, man? What's going on, And, the reason I was even involved with these people to begin with, man, because I was a drug addict and allowed myself to get sucked back into that crap, even after Jesus saved me, man. So anyway, I didn't think too much more about it, and so anyway, later on that night, so it was Memorial Day weekend. Yeah, okay, Memorial Day, I don't know what month is it? It's hard to tell what month it is because this is out in California, so the weather in San Clemente, man, it stays 65 degrees, average temperature year round, So I mean, it never rains, maybe 1 or 2 times a year. So it's all the same. So I can't remember what month it is. Anyway, so I remember it was Memorial Day weekend. Well, yeah, it had to have been 95. Memorial Day weekend in 95, whenever Memorial Day is. It's in May, I guess it is, something like that. I hadn't been saved that long, a few months. So anyway, I thought, shoot, man, I'm going to get me a nice package. I used to get these packages, man, they're about the size of a ping pong ball, real good speed. And me and my girlfriend go in these rooms, and do this dope and have sex all 2-3 days on end, man. And it was just the wildest thing, looking back on it. The only way anyway, so this is what I had in mind. So I get my rent's paid, I got the motel paid off till Monday, okay? And this is on a Friday. And it's just getting dark outside. I'm like, all right, man, I'm in for the weekend, me and my girl. And so anyway, man, get ready to get high and everything. And my girlfriend starts acting crazy, man. And she was involved in some weird stuff. Anyway, she was from South Africa. And the only thing that she knew about God growing up is her mom told her that that when it was raining that God was taking a shower. That's the only thing that she knew about God growing up. It's sad, man, you know. It's really sad. But anyway, she was, I think, possessed of a devil, and I'll tell you about that later too. But part of this will explain why I think that, but other things too. But anyway, so we're in there, and all of a sudden, man, she starts taking these photographs and pictures and setting them on fire and writing stuff in the sink, you know, and writing stuff with lipstick on the mirrors, death, destruction, all this craziness stuff, all that. And all of a sudden she's lighting these pictures on fire in the sink, and it sets the smoke alarm off. And man, I'm going, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? You're ruining it, man. What are you doing? And she just, man, looking just totally insane, man, like a devil's got a hold of her. So next thing you know, man, the knocking at the door, you know, we call this place Dot Motel, man, because these Indians, you know, they had this dot on their in the middle of their forehead. So we called it Dot Motel. So anyway, you hear the guy out there, what you do in there? What do you do? What do you do? What? And so, man, he's out there banging on the door, man. And so anyway, she takes her shirt off and opens the door partially up and says, hey, you can't come in here. I'm not dressed. And so he backs away and everything, man. So she shuts the door, and she's doing all this crazy stuff and everything. So anyway, she's got the package. And so I'm trying to get the package from her, you know, and I'm going to leave, you know. And thank God, man, I didn't, because it turned out. So anyway, next thing you know, man, I was like, man, this is crazy here, man. I'm going to go to jail. I'm getting ready to go to jail, man. The cops are going to show up any minute. So, man, I just opened up the door, and she was basically chasing me out of the room, man. It was crazy, man. So anyway, I ran out of the room and across the parking lot, and I was headed across the street, and there was a 7-Eleven over there. Well, guess who's there? Police. He sees me running across the street. He gets out of his car, man, draws down on me, man, lays me down on the ground, man, and cussed me. And turns out I had a warrant for my arrest. And so anyway, they took me, they take you to this substation in San Clemente, and then this bus comes around, like in the middle of the night. This bus came and picked me up and took me up to Santa Ana, to the Orange County Jail, which is a rough place. And, you know, I've been in 12 years, you know, most of it behind the walls here in Kansas, Kansas State Penitentiary and Kansas State Industrial Reformatory and Boys Industrial School, you know, 12 years of all that. But California is a lot rougher. But anyway, so I'm on this bus, and it's the strangest thing, man. The closer we get, it's, you know, I can't remember how many miles, maybe 20 miles, 25 miles from San Clemente up to Santa Ana, and maybe longer than that. But anyway, it was the strangest thing, man. I was on this bus, and the closer it got to Santa Ana, I just started feeling this fear and anxiety coming over me, man. Like waves of it, man. It was just the most darkest, most horrific thing, man, a person could ever experience. And it just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger, man. If I get up to the jail, man, I'm almost in hysteria, man. I'm like, what? And I'm just praying, God, what? Please help me, you know. And I could tell, man, it was like he was a million miles away from me, man. So anyway, so they get me up in the jail. Long story short, man, all I remember, I must have nodded out, man. I know I was sitting on this bench, And I must have nodded out. But next thing you know, man, somebody's poking me on my forehead. And I went, hey, what? And next thing you know, man, these cops got me cuffed behind my back, lifted up by my feet. There's about 7 of them. And started spraying pepper spray, man, in my face. Everywhere I'd turn, and I was upside down, so I couldn't hardly breathe anyway. And everywhere I'd turn my head, man, they'd spray me. You know, and it's like there's like 3 of them doing it. And they just kept doing it and kept doing it. And I'll tell you, man, it was the most painful thing I'd ever experienced. It was like my lungs were completely on fire. This stuff was inside of my lungs, you know, this pepper spray. And it literally felt like my lungs were on fire. Horrible, horrible pain. And then the fear and the anxiety, it was just on me, man. The devil was on me, man. And God uses the devil to chastise people, big time. He'll do it to somebody himself also. The word tells us that. But he'll use the devil to do it a lot of the time. And I think God's wrath and God's chastisement are 2 different, well, I know they're 2 different things. I think he uses the devil to chastise you, and his wrath is something completely different. A lot worse. And this was to the point where a person couldn't deal with it. Anyway, I was suffocating, man. I couldn't get another breath of fresh air. And it was a strange, I could hear demons inside these cops, you know, just the most foul, saying the most foul things, you know, to me and about me and God and everything else. And it was just, I can't even describe how horrible it was, okay? So anyway, they ended up, so I couldn't get another breath of fresh air, man, and I was losing consciousness. And I remember saying, Jesus, I was crying out, Jesus. And I remember they dropped me right on my head, and then they dragged me into the shower, dragged me down the hallway and into the shower, put me in the shower, turned the water on, and just put my face right in there and was drowning me, man. I mean, drowning me. And then I was just crying to Jesus, man, please, God, please. I just kept begging, God, please. So finally, man, they stopped. Man. And next thing you know, I guess I lost consciousness or something. Next thing you know, man, I'm laying face down on this bed and still cuffed, and I came to, and in my spirit, I've never heard any audible voices from God or anything like that. Although I did have an experience where I heard audible voices of God and the devil, but I'll tell you about that later, man. But this was in my spirit, and God said, only 2 times have I ever heard God speak to me in my spirit, and this time He says, son, that's just a small semblance of what hell's going to be like, and it's never going to stop. And I thought to myself, my God, if that, the most painful, by far the most painful, horrible thing I've ever experienced in my life, and I've been through some painful stuff, man, and that's just a small taste of what it's going to be like, and it's never going to stop. Whew. Man. So anyway, He wanted me to experience that with the chastisement. So anyway, man, I'll tell you what, you would think after going through that I'd never do drugs ever again. Wrong. Yeah, and I even shot up again. Not too many more times, but I remember the first time I did it, and I did it, and I was in a state park. I was in a bathroom in a state park, man, and I did it, and man, just immediately I'm thinking, oh my God, he's gonna get me again. And the strangest thing happened, man, is everywhere I went, Christian people were coming up to me, man, encouraging me just out of the blue, man, encouraged me and everything. Ended up going up to Diane, the same girl that was there when I was saved. Ended up taking me up to the high desert, man, in Victorville, and ended up these church people took me in off the streets and started going to church and helping me and everything, and it was like God was saying, well, you've seen what I can do to you, but that's not what I want to do. You know, he's a father, you know, he's a good father, and he says a loving father, and he said, this, you see what I can do to you, but that ain't what I want to do. And he was just loving me, man. Just everywhere I went, man, I was being loved. And he taught me a very valuable lesson, you know. And so anyway, the moral of the whole story is, don't make a solemn vow to God and break it. That's all I can tell you. Although he does things, God does whatever he wants. You know, I've been involved lately with some people that they want to try to put God in a box. You know, God only does this or God only does that. Yeah, well, he doesn't go against his word, that's for sure, but God does what he wants. And if you think you got God all figured out, you better think again. All right. Thank you very much. God bless.